Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom. Tom, how's it going?
Tony, we got a chance to rewatch, but the Ohio State's 70-0 win over Grambling. And the stat that stood out most to me at one point on the scorebook, they had 71 degrees and 35% humidity. And I was like, oh, okay, so that's what heaven feels like. I knew I felt it during the game on Saturday. I was like, I wonder what the relative humidity is in heaven. It turns out the answer is 35%.
It was amazing, and it was also very nice up in the press box as well, as you might suspect. I have not yet looked towards the weather for this Saturday, but it's a little warmer, but it'll be a high of 86 and sunny. I don't know if I'm ready for that kind of heat. Fortunately, it's a 7:30 kickoff, so it'll be a
7
little
o'clock kick,
cooler
yeah.
for you there, because we are always worried about how you're doing on the field. So we did do a rewatch. We've done this for a few years, and even if Grambling State comes to town, we're going to rewatch this game and talk about what we've learned, because Tom watches the game live through a camera viewfinder. I watch it upstairs with from the press box with Kevin Noon
Evan
chewing on
spilling
popcorn.
food on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who's to say who has the worst viewpoint and the worst situation? But go ahead, Tom. Tell me first. You go first. What's something that popped out on the TV rewatch of this one?
Well, let's see. I'm going to start with Riley Pettijohn because I think we talked about him plenty on the post-game show. You know, you score a touchdown on defense. You had a good game. I don't know that I had completely processed how good a game he had, where, yes, scores a touchdown, absolutely. Now, when he scored that touchdown, it was Riley Pettijohn and Devin Sanchez out there with basically the ones. It was Caden McDonald, Kenyatta Jackson, Edric Houston, Caden Curry, Jermaine Matthews, Caleb Downs, Jalen McClain, Peyton Pierce was out there, but then those two guys. And so they got two true freshmen basically out there with the ones, which was a little telling to me in terms of where they think those guys really stand. And it was the first play of the second half. So, you have a chance to sort of work them in a little bit. But that in and of itself tells me, boy, these guys are probably closer to like really meaningful playing time than you thought. Devin Sanchez, we saw against Texas. For Riley Pettijohn to be in that conversation, in that group, was pretty significant to me. And then after that touchdown, he also had a pass breakup, had just an absolute brick wall tackle in the hole, forced a fumble there. He was all over the place, lots of impact, really just shockingly consistently around the ball. Felt like you saw him right around the ball on a lot of tackles. I knew he had a good game. I don't know if I really processed what a good game he had. And also some of those times when it's just who's out there right now, I'm not necessarily looking at the whole 11. I'm looking at individual guys. It had not struck me that those two guys were out there basically with the ones to start the second half.
Yeah, rewatching it and seeing it's the first play of the third quarter. I was just getting upstairs from shooting some of the band halftime show. And then, of course, halftime is also when they throw the hot dogs out there. So it's like, well, then I had to run and grab a hot dog. And then walking back to my seat, I see I'm just getting to my seat for that play. And you see, the play's over. And then why is this guy running into the end zone? What's going on with this over here? As Riley Pettijohn also made a dude miss. I think maybe the running back there trying to stop him, or somebody, and then
Quarterback, I think.
Yeah, and then took it into the end zone. And I still think maybe my favorite play of his during that day was the pass breakup, because he's in coverage against the running back. He's completely comfortable, and he's right there. He's got the left arm on the back, and he's got the right arm in the front, knocking the pass away, just as Devin Sanchez and all the cornerbacks have taught him how to do, basically, in terms of this coverage. So impressed with him. Impressed with TJ Alford then later on, getting in there as well and getting some of that opportunity in the backfield and making plays. So some two good young ones there, and Eli Lee got some action as well as that third freshman in there. So yeah, I thought all of those guys, and as you said, we talked about Pettijohn during the show because we had to, but then you go back and watch it, Like I cut up some of his plays and threw it on Twitter, and it's just like, this is a freshman. Look at him, and he was impressive. Here's one, and this is about Julian Sayin. So we talked about him plenty during the show, but one of my favorite things about quarterbacks is the way they put the ball in position for the receiver to do something with, to continue running, and in a forward direction, or wherever they need to be running. That's where the ball is put. It's one thing to put it on their chest. And it's a better thing to put it where they're going. And he did that on about 17 of his 19 throws. And the one that he didn't was intercepted. And I think the other one that maybe wasn't was a completion to Max Clare over the middle, where Max Clare basically just stops in the zone. And it was a little high, so he had to jump for it. Other than that, he's putting the ball out in front of players so that they continue running in the direction they're going. And it's such an underrated thing that quarterbacks do that keep drives alive. Because how many times you see a throw behind a guy on like 3rd and 7 and he has to turn and now it becomes a 5-yard gain and they're left short. Whereas if it's thrown in front of him, he's going to pick up 8, 9, 12 yards. And that's something, when you just look at the 18 of 19, well, boy, that's accurate. When you look at it even closer and see where these balls are actually placed, like that is accurate. 18 for 19 is a number. Watching it and where the balls are placed, that is accuracy.
Yeah. And, I don't want to slag Lincoln Keenholz here because he was 6 for 7, but as soon as Lincoln Keenholz came in, he's still completing passes, but it was like, kind of on the guy's hip a little bit, and he had to slow down or had to reach back or something like that. And it wasn't just in stride every time. And I think it really jumped out to me because it was constantly in stride with Julian Sayin. And then it was like, oh yeah, that's what younger quarterbacks typically look like. It's just not, it's there, it's completed, but it's catchable, but it's not in exactly the right spot. Sayin was just about perfect, statistically, just about perfect in terms of placement. And, I think that that's something that, you talk about his release, the quickness of his release. You talk about, the ball placement. You talk about the fact that you did not have a lot of, he probably could have gone somewhere else with that ball. It was kind of like, it felt like the ball went to the right place. There was not, not throwing into tight windows when you had guys open to other places. It was, and you have to grade everything on the, yes, it's Grambling curve. Like yes, it's Grambling. We understand, yes, but it was accurate. It was, you look at Bryce Underwood for Michigan in week 1 against New Mexico, and sometimes it was there and sometimes it wasn't. And sometimes you were leading receivers you were throwing and leading receivers right into coverage and getting guys hit. Tavian St. Clair had one where he just about got Phillip Bell killed in the 4th quarter of the game. Julian Sayin never did that. And, I think that's a big difference between a first year player and a second year player, where you're just starting to, everything's slowing down a little bit and you're starting to see the big picture a little bit more. All right, let's go back to defense. Tony always wants the glory boys on offense. I am here to talk about the players on the defense who get no recognition, such as Caleb Downs. Is anyone talking about Caleb Downs? No, you never hear his name anywhere. I don't know why. He's very good at football. You'd think you would hear his name in more places in connection with awards and stuff. I don't know. Maybe no one else knows ball. I don't know. But I want to talk about that play where he had the interception, because from my perspective, I'm behind the offense. I'm down at the field. I see the quarterback throw the ball, and just immediately, all of a sudden, Caleb Downs has the ball. I was like, how the hell did that happen? What? How did that happen? And, the defense is on the other side of the offensive line from me. So I had no idea. And I'm looking at the quarterback. So I just saw Sonny Styles coming free, and then all of a sudden Caleb Downs had the ball. What I didn't realize was Caleb Downs comes in, fakes the blitz, draws the blocker, I think it was the left guard, draws the blocker to him, which then allows Sonny Styles to come clean through the middle, and then also has time to still drop back and pick off the pass. That was really, really remarkable. And it wasn't the only time he did that, because in the second Grambling drive of the game in the first quarter, he showed pressure like right over the offensive line. He might have been over the right guard that time. So he's showing pressure there right up on the line. And, everyone is looking, because it's like, oh, look, there's Caleb Downs. I bet he's about to do something cool. I hope he doesn't hurt me. And so everyone's looking at Caleb Downs, and he's showing pressure. And then He doesn't come. He backs out. Jermaine Matthews comes on a corner blitz. He doesn't get there, but Caleb Downs gets out to cover the receiver out wide. So he's in, he's showing pressure, and then he's able to either drop back and pick off the pass or drop out and get out to the receiver out in the flat. That is an incredible amount of space to cover. And, I think that's a speed thing. That's a change of direction thing. That is not something that normal people can do. So that's one of those things that, we constantly talk about how we see Matt Patricia smiling all the time. Like, I think Caleb Downs and the stuff that Caleb Downs can do is like 30% of why Matt Patricia is smiling all the time.
But on that point to Matt Patricia, something that I wrote down, he was a little bit upset after that interception. I don't know why. Like, the camera caught him and he just had like this look, or a shrug or something. I don't know if he was like, I drew that up to be a pick six. What are you doing falling down on the ground? But it was interesting. And Caleb Downs just toys with offenses. It's like the older brother who's just like putting his finger in little brother's face. Like, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. That's what he's doing to the quarterback the entire time. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. And then, the quarterback screams at the ref and, like, hey, tell him to leave me alone. It's like, hey, this is football, man. Just don't throw him the ball and you'll be okay. It's like, well, I don't know where he's going to be. So how am I supposed to not throw him the ball? And he's fun to watch. And if you, maybe, Tom, maybe if the Buckeyes make it all the way to the championship game again, there should be a Caleb cam. And just, you've got all of these different cameras, just have a camera on him. Watch him all the way around. I think that would be an interesting view.
Yeah, well, I think you'd have lots of different views and lots of different angles because he's doing different stuff, it seems like, on every single snap. So, yeah, that would be good. That would be a lot more interesting than the khaki cam they did when Jim Harbaugh came back to college and they played Utah in that first game in 2015. Yeah, I think that would be a lot more interesting, a lot more dynamic. So yeah, I'm for it. That's they have like 7 channels. Put that on ESPNU or something like that for the some playoff game.
So here's one that I liked, and I don't know how meaningful it is, but I think it is. Jelani Thurman scores a 4-yard touchdown in the fourth quarter, start of the fourth quarter, to make it 63-0. In the lineup on that play were 4 tight ends, and Nate Roberts was at fullback, and Max Clare was over on the left side. And you've got Max Clare and Jelani Thurman running the routes. Both were open. Either could have gotten a touchdown. The throw goes to Jelani Thurman, and Max Clare, who came from Purdue, having all of these, I'm the best, not him saying this, but he's the best tight end in the portal. 50 catches last year, very productive. He has 1 catch in this game, I think 2 in the last game. Kind of underutilized. The ball goes to Jelani Thurman, and the happiest guy is Max Clare. He's celebrating with Jelani Thurman. Then you see Jelani Thurman get the smile on his face. And I bet winning is fun. Like, I bet winning is so fun for a guy from Purdue at this point. Also, at some point, he's going to be getting involved in the offense. But it's just good to see from adapting to the culture, wanting to be part of this culture. And the entire tight end room, as we know, it's 5 deep right now. 5 guys are playing and getting the balls thrown to them, getting targeted in these games. And he is the happiest guy. And he was the number 1 option last year in an offense that was not great, but he was busy. He's busy in a different way this year, and he seems to be perfectly okay with that. And I think that's an impressive thing for him, but also for Ohio State knowing which guys to bring in.
Yeah, I think that reflects well on Clare, but I think it also reflects really well on the tight end room on the whole. I think Keenan Bailey has done a really good job, number 1, accumulating the talent that's in that room, 2, developing the talent that's in that room, and 3, utilizing the talent that's in that room, because you're going to be happy. Everyone in that room is happy right now because you know what? Everybody's playing. Everyone is, this is an everybody eats situation. Like there is not a shortage of snaps in that room. There's not a shortage of receptions in that room. There's not a shortage of touchdowns in that room. If you're Max Clare, yeah, you didn't get a touchdown in this game. And Will Kazmarek got a touchdown in this game. And Jelani Thurman got a touchdown in this game. But you're not doing where's my touchdown? Because guess what? Max Clare is going to score plenty of touchdowns this year. Everyone in that room is getting a chance to play. And when there's an abundance of opportunity, you can be happy for other people when they get their chance. that's that's a completely normal reaction. And I think that's true in a lot of rooms there. Like Zion Grady had a sack in the second half, and he comes back to the sideline, and Kenyatta Jackson's there, and Caden McDonald's there, and Edric Houston's there, and they're all excited for him, and they're all congratulating him, and everyone is getting a chance to eat right now, and so everyone's perfectly happy. With the tight end room and with the defensive line room too, those are positions where you've got lots of different situations. So you've got lots of different opportunities where, hey, we're going to need this type of defensive lineman. We're going to need this type of tight ends, where in a goal line situation, you might need a different, your blocking tight ends might be a little different than your Max Clare split out tight ends. So everyone's going to have their own situations. Everyone's going to have their own opportunities, and everyone sort of recognizes that. And for Max Clare, I bet it was fun to be on the winning side of a 70-0 game as opposed to whatever Indiana did to Purdue in the Old Oak and Bucket game last year.
And real quickly on the Zion Grady thing, that same play, C.J. Hicks is chasing the quarterback to Zion Grady, and it's C.J. Hicks, the senior, celebrating with Zion Grady for making that play. And that's just another example of what seems to be a cohesive unit right now.
Yeah, that play, I got over to Zion Grady late because I saw C.J. Hicks coming off the edge, and I'm following C.J. Hicks, who basically comes clean off the edge. And I have lots of pictures of C.J. Hicks like streaking across, and all of a sudden there's this blur like off to the left side of the frame, and I'm like, oh, what now? And it's like, oh, Zion Grady got him first. Too bad. All right, so how about this one? Let's talk a little bit about C.J. Donaldson, but not C.J. Donaldson running the ball. C.J. Donaldson in terms of blitz pickups, and C.J. Donaldson in terms of pass pro. And we're gonna preface this again. Yes, it's Grambling. Yes, a lot of times it was like a corner coming off. I get it. You don't have to. You can't block Penn State's nose tackles when you're playing Grambling. Sorry to tell you, but Donaldson did a really good job. Had at least 2, maybe 3, where there was someone coming clean off the edge, and he just picked him up and just stoned him. I mean, absolutely stonewalled him. And that's going to be an important thing for Ohio State. I don't know that I saw Pete James people have an opportunity to do that at any point, but it was, I think you look at Donaldson and what he's able to do. Running the ball, he was solid. He did a good job. But the blitz pickups, think about TreVeyon Henderson and the role that TreVeyon Henderson played in some of the really, really important plays last season. Not with the ball in his hand, but by picking up a pass rusher in pass pro. C.J. Donaldson, what I saw from him was, okay, they should feel reasonably good about him in that role. And that's going to be a really important thing at some point in games that are closer than 70-0.
Yeah, and it's a skill that people really appreciated last year. And it's something that I want to ask Ryan Day about on Tuesday in terms of Bo Jackson. Where is Bo Jackson and all of the things that will keep a freshman off the field? But I got to figure out how to ask it in a way that Ryan Day won't just say, he's doing well. He got some stuff to work on. So it's like, I don't know that there is a good way to ask it, but, because he's not going to say, well, he's just not good. He just cannot pass block to save his life. You're not going to get that answer. But when you see Bo Jackson run, and I'm not trying to steal somebody's bullet points that we might have here, but it's that stuff that we talk about, the blitz pickup and the pass protection that will allow a guy to get more and more playing time. And so it'll be interesting to see who is where in terms of that. And if Bo Jackson is only in there to run the ball, then you've kind of tipped your hand on what you're going to do when he's in there. And so you can't just be that kind of guy. But C.J. Donaldson, he's that veteran that can do that. And I watched enough college football and some NFL football this week to see running backs choosing the wrong guy to pick up and it destroying a play. And so it's just such an underrated value. And I don't know that Ohio State wins the national championship last year without TreVeyon Henderson's ability to pick up those rushers. I don't know that Quinshon Judkins or frankly James Peoples or whoever else that they would have brought in would have been able to do that. So something we're always going to continue to watch to see, is it still at that level? And even if it's not, is it good enough? And we'll see as it goes whether it will be. Something we talked about quite a bit last year, maybe to start the season, was the green dot And we haven't talked about it really this season. Thought it was interesting. Sonny starts out with the green dot when him and Arvell Reese are out there. Then when it's like Arvell Reese and Peyton Pierce, then Arvell may have it. And then as it's like Peyton Pierce and Riley Pettijohn, and Peyton Pierce has it. And then finally down to Garrett Stover having it when Peyton Pierce is no longer in there. It's just interesting okay, who actually has the green dot? And I think it makes a ton of sense for Sonny to have it. He had it at times last year as well, even with Cody Simon out there, where you're already asking Arvell Reese to do a lot. So when you've got Sonny out there with the green dot, and the green dot is communication from the coaches, he's sharing the play, he's telling everybody, relatively, okay, this is what we're doing, this is where I need you, those sorts of things. His ability to handle that takes that off of Arvell Reese's plate, and he can go ahead and be like, well, I'm going to set the edge on this one. I'm going to blitz on this one. I'm dropping back into coverage on this one. But also Arvell Reese will have to do those things. He'll have the green dot at times as he did in this one, but I just think it's interesting to watch how that helmet, or not that helmet because they all have their individual helmets, but how the communication gets shared.
Yeah, and I think generally your trend is the quarterback's always going to have it on offense, and then it's going to be one of the linebackers on defense, but it's going to be probably, I feels like it sort of defaults to seniority almost. It's interesting that you don't ever have, it's not ever Caleb Downs, which you would think Caleb Downs would be, I think it's just always going to be a linebacker, because if it's not Caleb Downs, then it's always going to be a linebacker. So I think you're just going to sort of default to seniority. And Sonny's a smart kid. Sonny's a very smart kid. He's also in his 4th year at Ohio State. So he's kind of seen it all. He's played at multiple levels of the defense. It makes sense for him to be kind of the default answer there. But, if it's not Sonny, then it's Arvell, who's in his 3rd year. If it's not him, then it's Peyton, who's in his 2nd year. And then you kind of go down the line from there. But I think you can look at the rest of the linebacker room and go, I bet 2 years from now, Riley Pettijohn is going to be the guy who has the green dot in the back of his helmet. I just bet that's going to be who it is. And TJ Alford will probably be a very strong second at that point. But next year, Peyton Pierce is going to be the dude with the green dot on his helmet, period, full stop. It's just, you need someone who has, seen it, can do it, is, smart, can sort of handle all the, it's a lot of communication coming into your ears, and you got to be able to sort of regurgitate it to everyone, because it shuts off at 15 seconds on the play clock. So you don't have a lot of time. It's like you got 20 seconds to take in the information, communicate the information, and then once it shuts off, you're still maybe sort of directing traffic to a certain degree around the field. So, I think, you look at the guys, and there was never I wonder why he has it. It's like, no, yeah, that makes sense. We talk about this all the time. They're going to default to experience, and your veteran, experienced guys, those are going to be the guys they trust to put in those spots. All right. So you talked about Bo Jackson, but you didn't talk about Bo Jackson enough. So now I'm going to talk about Bo Jackson. Boy, Tony, remember all those times we're like, hey, Bo Jackson might be pretty good. I think people are starting to see what we were talking about. He was really explosive, really shifty, making guys miss, falling forward, just all the stuff we've seen from him. He looks different. He looks different from all the other running backs out there. Has burst, falls forward. He did, one of the things he did, you had mentioned this on the postgame show, that he had a fumble, and I didn't remember the fumble. It was, he's trying to reach the ball reach the ball for the goal line, and kind of gets hit. It falls. Ball goes out of bounds. So, and did not go across the goal line, but he goes to the sideline. Ryan Day's talking to him. Carlos Loughlin's talking to him. He scored a touchdown that got called back on a penalty on that drive. Then they're like very clearly trying to get him another touchdown. And then he fumbles the ball out of bounds at the 2 or whatever it is. And then out of the game. Sam Dixon, congratulations. You get to score this touchdown. I think that you can, if you want to ask Ryan Day, here, you have seen the explosiveness. You've seen what he can do with the ball in his hands. Where does he still need to, improve his game? Where does he need to work on? What does he need to work on? Because, Ryan Day was letting him know. Carlos Loughlin was letting him know after that. The game's 63-0. This is a great time to learn that lesson. Mm-hmm. And we have seen Ohio State running backs in the past fumble every once in a while and turn into good backs anyway. Eddie George, you know that story. And so for Bo Jackson, that's a great time to learn that lesson. But you got to hang on to the ball, because that's one of those things. If you can't do pass pro, if you can't catch the ball out of the backfield, if you can't hang on to the ball, you can be as explosive as you want. They're not going to trust you. So, he had a great game. That's going to be a snap that he can learn from.
And Carlos Loughlin tells his guys, you can't just run the ball here. You've got to be able to catch it. You've got to be able to block, all of those things. I think maybe my favorite run of the day for Bo Jackson was maybe like a 7-yarder off to the right, where he's got a tackler on him. Another tackler comes in and just bounces off of him and just immediately goes to the ground. And you just see the power and the forcefulness and the brick wall nature that he was putting up, because this guy comes tearing in, hits him, and it goes down, and then Bo Jackson just continues to move the pile a little bit. And it's impressive seeing what he was doing. Even his first touchdown, the 11-yarder, just his ability to get skinny and sift through there, impressive. 9 for 108 or 109 or whatever. The latest Ohio State true freshman to rush for 100 yards in the game. First since Dallin Hayden in 2022. Of course, we know Travion Henderson had a few in 2021, and then going back to 2017 with J.K. Dobbins and so on. But yeah, fun guy to watch. And now that they're past Texas, I would expect him to get carries in every game moving forward. I think that's the real tell of, are you a true freshman or are you a part of the rotation? Clearly.
Yeah. I think there's a reasonable possibility. I mean, we'll see where he is. If he's getting carries against Penn State, if he's getting carries at Illinois, if you're hanging on to the football and you're doing all the other stuff they want you to do, I don't see any reason he couldn't. He was out there in the first half. I don't know if he got any carries in the first half, but he was out there in the first half against Grambling. But you see it with him, where he can make stuff happen, and he can make stuff happen if there's a lane there. He can make stuff happen if there's not a lane there. And a lot of the stuff that they're looking for, in addition to the blocking and all the stuff that we're talking about, can you fall forward? Can you turn 1 yard into 3 just by falling forward? CJ Donaldson does a great job of falling forward. You saw some of that with Bo Jackson as well. So I think he's got a very, very bright future. I would be pretty surprised if he didn't have carries in at least 8 of the 10 remaining regular season games, and it might be, it very well might be more than that.
We'll find out against Washington how they feel, because I think that's a game you have to be concerned about, clearly. And so, are you so concerned you're just sticking with the 2 guys that you know, and CJ Donaldson and James Peoples, and then that will tell us something at least. I want to talk about another true freshman running back, because I was impressed with Isaiah West's vision in this one. Just some subtle stuff. He saw the hole well and was able to make some cuts. And again, we talked a little bit about it after the game, that this is really our first chance of seeing him. And I don't know how fast he is or how explosive he is, but I was impressed with just some of his vision and ability to cut to the hole and then keep moving and just be look like he belonged. And so that was good to see for his first action as a Buckeye. I don't know how many more carries we'll see from him. I would assume he's a very decent redshirt candidate, so you're going to pick and choose when you're going to see him again the next 3 games. But I liked what I saw based on just his ability to find his way around.
Yeah, like you said, we have just really not seen him. He was banged up in the spring. He was banged up decent amount in fall camp. So we just really have not seen him much. But as soon as he got out there, it was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you were seeing in recruiting. Okay, got it. So yeah, I like the idea of potentially redshirting him, because they've got 3 backs in this class. And Bo Jackson, I am not expecting to redshirt. Turbo Rogers is banged up right now. If that's a, medium-ish term injury where it's not just a 1-week thing, you're probably seeing him redshirt as well. Getting a little bit of separation there between those guys and not having 3 guys with the same season of eligibility would make a lot of sense. So, we'll see. I don't know how often your 4th running back, you're really getting into your 4th running back. You might see him against Ohio, and then you save a couple for some of the, more UCLA looking like it might be a very MAC level opponent. So you may see Isaiah West against UCLA later in the season, but you can sort of pick and choose your spots there. So yeah, but yeah, I agree with you. I was pleasantly surprised. I saw him out there, and then it was like, oh, look at that! Like there was not a huge drop off from Bo Jackson. So I was like, all right, that's good. That's a positive there. Tony, I love stats, so I went through. I kind of was trying to do this in my head on the field and was getting rough numbers.
Nowhere.
But it was 21-0 with 4:10 left in the first quarter.
Right.
Julian Sayin was 10 of 10 for 218 yards and 3 touchdowns. That was in the first 10 minutes and 50 seconds of the game. If you work that out from 10 minutes and 50 seconds and prorate that out over 60 minutes, Julian Sayin projected to be 55 for 55 for 1,206 yards and 16 touchdowns. Really, it would have been 16 and a half, but I rounded down because, of course, you got to account for the fact that Grambling gets the second half kickoff. And at that point, they were on pace for 112 points, which 112-0 would have been the projected final score at that point, which I got to tell you, felt very much within reach for long stretches of the afternoon.
This is very much Ohio State playing on junior varsity level of EA Sports college football, where it's, yes, we can just throw deep if we'd like to. That, again, I think 52 of 56 would be reasonable to expect. 56 for 56 is I think just a bridge too far in this one. But maybe this is maybe when Mike Loxley ends up coaching at an FCS school and has to face Ohio State, and then Ryan Day is like reminded like that week, remember the Chase Young thing? And like, oh yeah. Well, let's see what Julian Sayin can do over 4 quarters. Just because, or like, what Jim Tressel used to do to Pat Fitzgerald for no reason, they would just destroy Northwestern. Maybe that's the reason. But yeah, it would be interesting to see, but also like avert your eyes if anybody were to do this. Like back when whoever, Houston's old coach, when SMU came back and they put 95 points on it with Andre Ware. John, it doesn't matter. He's
it matters. I'm going to look it up right now.
And then years later, Andre Ware is doing a color commentary for an Ohio State game where things are getting out of hand. He's like, boy, this is just classless. It's like, you're the same guy that is throwing into the end zone when your team was up 95-0. And John
Jenkins, Jack Pardee, and then John Jenkins.
I would say Junker, but I knew that was the Fiesta Bowl guy.
Yeah.
So yes. I don't think it'll get that bad. One of my last ones here, Tom, is we still have not seen Logan George yet. And a defensive end transfer from Idaho State who had some moments in the spring and was banged up in fall. He was not part of the availability report either week. You've got Josh Mickens playing in front of him. You got Zion Grady. You've got Epi Satanale, those two true freshmen playing, and Dominic Kirk's redshirt freshman playing. We still have not seen Logan George. I don't know if this is one of those things where it's like, well, he's just not quite right, or if he's actually at the bottom of the depth chart right now. It is a very big step up from Idaho State to Ohio State, despite what, I had a buddy from Boston whose grandparents, like he came to Ohio State for school, and his grandparents could never get it right that he was in Ohio rather than Idaho. I don't think Logan George's grandparents have that same issue, or he doesn't have that same issue either. He knows it's a big step up. And I just wonder what's going on there. We haven't really asked anybody necessarily about him to this point because there's been so many other things going on. But if you were going to play in this one, if you were healthy, you'd think you'd be playing in this one.
Yeah, I mean, they played really everyone in that game. So, yeah, I would assume he's probably not quite 100%. So, I wouldn't think it's a depth chart thing, put it that way. He's I hadn't thought about him, but you're right. We've not seen him the last 2 games. So we'll see if he's out there this week against Ohio. But yeah, he had been at one point banged up during fall camp. So it may just be a why take the risk right now kind of situation for him. I have a couple other short ones. We'll start with a positive one. Mylan Graham only had 1 catch, but had a catch on the outside, made a guy miss, nice yards after the catch. It was just kind of like, it's there, it's there. It's they have plenty of other talented wide receivers. He's going to slowly grow into a bigger role, but just that one play was okay. Yep, you can see it. It's going to be in there, and he'll have a bigger role next year. Obviously, he will grow into a bigger role this year, I'm sure, as well. But you just got a little glimpse of him there.
Bryson Rogers as well.
Mm-hmm.
Saw some that fair catch signal. Like
that was pretty iffy.
You got to get your hands, keep your hands below your shoulder. Like that was, he's just moving about. And, but I like his return ability looked good because you can see the speed that he has, but that one was questionable. And maybe that's just the byproduct of your backup punt return. Like, hey, just keep your arms down until you're ready to catch the ball. And, because who knows how it's going to be taken, or just seen out of the corner of the eye. And you're like, yeah, he made a fair catch call. Well, my very last thing, Tom, there are some Grambling State players with hoods. Like they weren't sure if this 72-degree kickoff temperature was going to be too cold. So they were prepared to bundle up. And that is a little bit alarming. I know it's warmer in the South. We all know that. But do you need a hood? Do you need a hood, a head protection, head covering when it's 70 and it's warmer than that on the field itself? I was taken a little bit aback by that.
Well, you got to remember, Louisiana this time of year is, unlivable. Have you been to Louisiana in September ever?
No, I've only been there in January. And it's
we were down there for the Sugar Bowl at one point, but yeah, Louisiana in January is very different than Louisiana in September. Louisiana in September is, yes, it's 95 degrees. Yes, the humidity is 90%, but also there are bugs the size of I don't know, like a tortilla, and you drive down the highway and you hit them, and it's just like this big, like they're right on your windshield. It is deeply unpleasant. So, it would be like going from, midsummer Ohio to all of a sudden it's, October Ohio, and you'd be like, oh, it's a little chilly. It's a little brisk out. So I get it. It's all relative. It would be, I would be, not real happy and not real comfortable in Louisiana this time of year. So I can't really judge. A couple quick things just to wrap up. TJ Alford, you mentioned, very, 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 very effective play, hit a TFL off the edge. A couple negative things, just little negative things that you can just sort of look at and be nitpicky with. I forgot CJ Donaldson had that fumble on that toss play where it just looked like maybe he took his eyes off the ball. That, that's not great. A couple offside penalties for Edric Houston in the first half. Taiwan Malone missed a tackle on a 4th and 1 that turned into the long run of the day for Grambling. And the deflection on the last PAT, I missed the fact that Javon McFadden just let a guy inside him on the PAT protection on the last PAT. Credit to Jackson Corville for kicking it hard enough that it got deflected and still went through. He has a strong leg. So, all that stuff this is a great time to make this mistake. And then you can learn from it and you can teach off of it and you can move on with life. The last thing though, Tony, we got to talk about the fan running on the field at the start of the fourth quarter. I completely forgot about that. It was just like out of the corner of my eye. I just saw this flash of motion. And then all of a sudden the police are talking to someone on the sideline. I was like, what was that? I got to tell you, if you're going to run on the field, this does not constitute legal advice. If you're going to run on the field, be a streaker. Come on, running out on the field, come on, that's rookie league stuff. If you're going to commit to the bit, or don't do it at all. Actually, don't do it at all is probably the best advice. Anthony Schlegel might be down there somewhere.
Right. And back when we were in school, back in our day, you could count on a streaker for the Michigan game and a legit streaker, not just somebody running on the field. This guy runs onto the field and comes out the end zone and then makes it about 10 or 15 yards. He's like, okay, I'm done. And he runs to the sideline. That is pitiful. I'm not saying commit to the bit. And I'm saying if you're going to get on the field, I need to see at least 40 yards. I need to see some sort of a chase. But this guy, to do it, I assume he won a bet, but he didn't even put up any kind of fight. He gets to the sideline. He's like, yeah, And then like the cops just walk with him. And because it's clear he's not running anymore. He
Mhm.
did his running. He's done. Like that was as bad as the knocker balls were for Texas. Also, the knocker balls were back this week, long range, as they should have been. But yeah, that guy, that was pitiful. And if he is a listener or viewer, great job. Pitiful. But I would expect more. And really, why Grambling? Is it because there's no security? Because, you know, at the end of the Texas game, you've got the cops on the bikes and they're like trying to keep people out. I guess this one you feel like everybody's just lax and you can get out there. But go, like, again, 50, maybe 20 yards max is what he did. And that was as bad as I've ever seen. Don't ever do it again.
You're just as arrested either way. So it's not like, oh, if you go 25 yards, it's a felony. Like it's the same charge. So yeah, you're not getting your money's worth there. I'm going to guess, Tony, fourth quarter of a game like that, I'm going to guess alcohol may have played a role in the decision-making process. So, you know, I think choice one would be not do it. But choice two would be at least commit to the bit.
Do you think he was even arrested? I assume this might have been one of those just go. Just like walk him out to the door and just be like, go home. But I have not checked the police logs in a few days. And so my last one, I thought Aaron Scott broke on his ball pretty good. 2 weeks in a row, though, Ohio State drops an interception. Sonny Styles first week, Aaron Scott this one. Not dropping, but you had an opportunity to make a play and couldn't bring it in. I wonder if maybe they work on that, like with the scooping and getting your arms underneath the football there a little bit. Just as Tom offered up some critique, I will as well. So there you go. That will do it. If you want to hit the thumbs up, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening, a 5-star rating and review is always appreciated. We thank you guys for those. Thank you for those who've done all of that. And of course, you can continue to find us at BuckeyeHuddle.com. The absolute best way to support what we do. Sign up, become a member there. Check us out on the Buckeye Huddle message board presented by Jeff Ruby's Columbus. We would love to see you there. So thank you all for tuning in, and we will talk to you all later.